I want you to picture something. It's 11:30. You have a board meeting tomorrow, a big pitch, or just another day that starts at 6 and doesn't stop until you make it stop. Then you're in bed. Lights are off. Everything is quiet. And your brain is running a full strategy session. Not because there's a crisis. Things are actually going well. But because there's a conversation replaying from this afternoon, or mentally drafting the email you need to send tomorrow, running the numbers on something that does not need to be solved right now. And the part that makes it worse is you know exactly what's happening. You know you need to sleep. You know this isn't helping, but you still can't stop. If that's you, this video is going to explain something about yourself that most sleep content will never tell you. Because this isn't a sleep problem. It's something older and deeper than that. And until you understand that, what is actually going on there, nothing you try is going to stick. So I'm Daniel. I've spent 10 years barely sleeping and over 180 grand trying to fix that. Trying every specialist, every protocol, every device. And now I've spent 8 years coaching executives, entrepreneurs, founders through these sleep issues. And almost every single one of them comes to me describing a similar experience. They perform at an incredibly high level during the day. They handle pressure, make decisions, lead people, but the moment that they try and stop, really slow down, something in them refuses. And the work bleeds into the evening bleeds into bed, and then bed becomes a place where everything they held together all day finally demands to be heard. Then they've tried all the supplements, the magnesium, the melatonin, and all the basic sleep hygiene stuff, the blackout curtains, maybe sleep studies, and they still can't switch off. Or if they do, it's because they're so exhausted, but the body then wakes them right back up at 3 a.m. because they're trying to solve a switching off problem on a nervous system level with sleep tools. And those are two completely different things. The reason you can't switch off at night and sleep has been the same reason you're actually successful. And I want you to hear this, because the drive that gets you up before the alarm is the same drive running the board meeting in the back of your head at midnight. And the inability to leave problems unsolved, the thing that makes you exceptional, is the exact thing keeping you awake. It's the identity being built on being the person who figures all this out, who stays ahead, and who doesn't quit. That identity has no template for surrendering into sleep, for letting go, for letting rest be a part of the whole you. Sleep requires surrender, not effort, not optimization, not the right system. Surrender to sleep. For people who build everything they have by refusing to give themselves deep permission to rest, that might be the hardest thing they've ever asked themselves to do. And most of them have never been actually taught how. And for me, I did the same thing around sleep. I researched it, I optimized it, I tried to outwork it. And every time I brought more effort to the problem, the worse it got. Because I was trying to solve sleep with the same energy that was keeping me awake. And it took me years to understand that that isn't something you achieve, it's something you allow. And allowing was a skill I never really learned. All right, let me describe what I actually see, because this is kind of specific. The workday ends, the laptop closes, but there's a background process still running, an unresolved decision, a conversation that didn't land right, something on tomorrow's agenda that needs to be thought through, right? And that process follows them to dinner, through the evening, and all the way into bed. Then dinner happens and you're half there. Time with family happens, but one part of the mind is still at work. And when they finally get into bed, often the first moment of genuine stillness that they've had in their day, that background process, it gets the floor and it takes it. And what I hear most often is, I know I need to sleep. And I know lying here thinking about tomorrow isn't helping. And I still can't stop. That gap between knowing and doing is where the real problem lives. And it's not a discipline failure. It's not a willpower issue. It's the predictable outcome of spending years training your nervous system to stay on. Every early morning, every late night, every time they push through when their body wanted them to stop. One lesson over and over: staying alert is how we survive. Rest is what happens when everything else is done, and everything is never done. Every executive I work with describes a version of this. The body stopped, but the brain didn't get the memo. And they lie there genuinely confused because they are smart, capable people, and they still can't figure out why something as basic and natural as sleep won't work for them. What I tell them is, you're not broken, you're just overtrained in one direction, and there's a way back. Now, I want to go a layer deeper here because this is the layer that most sleep content really never touches. Most high performers don't just work hard, they become their work. Over time, quietly, gradually, the identity fuses with the output, right? So your sense of safety in this world, your self-worth, your confidence in who you are, it gets built around what you produce. And when that's the foundation, rest doesn't feel like restoration. It feels like falling behind, like someone is gaining ground while you're lying there doing nothing. So even bed, even with the eyes closed, some part of you refuses to fully disengage because fully disengaging feels wrong. And that belief is running in the background of every sleepless night, quietly, relentlessly. And it's not a sleep problem. It's an identity problem of something protecting you to feel safe enough to give yourself permission to actually let go. And no supplement on earth touches that. 3 things I consistently see blocking these highly successful people from genuinely switching off and getting quality sleep. Number 1 is no real boundary between work and not work. Not a scheduled boundary, a felt one. And there's a big difference here between closing a laptop at 8 p.m. and actually being done at 8 p.m. Most high performers don't do the first, and almost none of them do the second. So building a real boundary isn't about rules. It's about creating genuine transition, like a physical signal that the role is over for tonight. Not paused, over. That transition has to land in the body, not just on the calendar. Number 2, unprocessed stress carried from your day to your night. Pushing through doesn't mean processed. It means deferred, swept to the side. Everything that has been deferred during the day is waiting for you at night. That anxious thought you didn't have time for at 3 p.m. shows up at 3 a.m. instead. So the solution is creating small intentional moments, even just 5 minutes, where things have somewhere to go before bed. Journaling, like a real conversation, a walk without a podcast, something that moves that backlog out of the body. Number 3 is the belief that rest has to be earned. It's an unconscious belief that you don't deserve to stop until you've done enough, until the list is clear, until you've justified the space you take up. And that bar for enough keeps moving. It always does. So until you challenge that belief, not intellectually, but at a felt level, rest will always feel like something you're taking rather than something you need. So the thing that changes this is not a new protocol, it's a new relationship with rest, with stillness, with the parts of ourselves that exist outside of what you produce. The work is learning, not intellectually, but in your body, and that your value as a human being is not contingent on your output. That night is not the enemy of the morning. That surrendering into rest is not falling behind, is the only sustainable way to actually stay ahead. And here's what I want every person watching this to hear. You cannot continue to perform at a level you want to perform at without addressing this. Not long-term, not sustainably. So the executives I work with who do this work, we address the nervous system, the identity, the emotional weight they've been carrying, and they don't just sleep better, they lead better. They make better decisions. They are more present. They get more done in less time because they're operating from a regulated system rather than a depleted one. And sleep isn't a concession into weakness. For a high performer, it's the ultimate competitive advantage. So if you recognize yourself in this video or the inability to switch off and work maybe is bleeding into the evenings and your sleep, that quiet sense that this is not sustainable, I want you to hear something directly. You're not broken, you're not weak. You've built something real and you did it with everything you've had, but the way you've been operating is costing you more than you've calculated. Drop a comment. Does this resonate? What does it actually feel like when you get into bed? I read every single one of these. And if you're ready to actually address this at the root of what's going on, my sleep community is where we do this work. There's 20 courses, biological, psychological, emotional roots, Personalized sleep roadmap, a 7-day nervous system reset, live calls with me each week. Over 1,500 people doing this work. Many of them exactly the person I've been describing in this video, executives, entrepreneurs, high performers who couldn't switch off and now sleep. The link's in the description. I hope to see you inside. Until next time, rest well.